almost unsurvivable. Sounds like there was a breaking point.
King Charles has made a firm and shocking decision concerning Meghan Markle, a choice so drastic that even those closest to the royal family could never have imagined it. That is the latest revelation from an insider within the British monarchy, and it has immediately stirred public opinion. Following a series of controversies Meghan has been involved in, from her public accusations of racism to being accused of exploiting the royal family's name to build her personal brand, King Charles could no longer maintain his silence. These scandals have not only caused widespread uproar across British society, but have also severely damaged the image and legacy of the royal family, a symbol cultivated over centuries. What the public is now fiercely debating is this: was King Charles's decision a necessary act to protect the honor of the monarchy, or is it in reality a calculated move to consolidate his own power amid growing internal fractures within the royal household? 1. Meghan Markle and the series of scandals. Damaging the royal family's image. Since officially becoming part of the British royal family, Meghan Markle has quickly emerged as the center of numerous controversies and one of the most polarizing figures in the modern history of the monarchy. Her statements and actions have not only stirred intense public debate, but have also placed the royal family in an unprecedentedly reactive position. What's more concerning is that the issues surrounding Meghan no longer remain confined to her personal life. They have encroached upon the honor, traditions, and centuries-old credibility that the royal family has long cultivated. Rather than maintaining the silence traditionally observed by royal members, Meghan has repeatedly chosen to publicly share stories that have deeply tarnished the image of the monarchy. One of the most shocking incidents was the accusation of racism that Meghan made during her widely publicized interview with Oprah Winfrey. She claimed that someone within the royal family had expressed concerns over the skin color of her son Archie. That statement immediately caused a public uproar and was the main trigger for a media crisis unprecedented in the history of the British monarchy. Although Meghan did not present any concrete evidence to support her claim, the impact of that statement was undeniable. This raises a critical question. Was Meghan fully aware that such a statement would not only damage her own reputation, but also endanger the credibility and symbolic legacy of the entire royal family? The controversies didn't stop there. Meghan also became entangled in suspicions surrounding the lineage of her and Harry's children. Recently, rumors surrounding her pregnancies have once again ignited public debate, as some individuals close to the royal family have expressed doubts about the details of her pregnancies and her decision to keep personal information undisclosed. Though no evidence has been presented to confirm these rumors, they have nonetheless created a cloud of suspicion, blurring the lines between fact and speculation in the public's mind. The question remains, are these rumors rooted in truth, or are they merely products of public imagination? And if they do have any basis, does Meghan have a responsibility to clarify them and be held accountable before public opinion? Another aspect that has continued to draw criticism is the accusation that Meghan has leveraged the royal family's fame to build a personal brand. Since marrying Prince Harry, Meghan rapidly became an internationally prominent figure, using her royal association to expand her individual profile. Her business contracts with major platforms like Netflix and Spotify have led many to believe that she is willing to place personal gain above royal dignity. Although Meghan has repeatedly defended her choices, the wave of public criticism has shown no sign of slowing. The question lingers: does she truly understand that using the royal family's name to advance her career is not merely a personal matter, but one that carries consequences for the image of the monarchy as a whole? Alongside these issues, financial matters have also placed Meghan and Harry under scrutiny. When the couple announced their decision to step back from royal duties and relocate to the United States, the public immediately began questioning how they would sustain their lavish lifestyle. Though Meghan insisted that she and Harry no longer received financial support from the royal family, skepticism remained. Many questioned the transparency of their income and expenses, the nature of events they participated in, and the sources of revenue that remained undisclosed. Are they truly as transparent as they claim to be, or is it all an effort to preserve their image, while in reality, going against the standards upheld by the royal family? All of these incidents have sparked one fundamental question in the minds of the public. Has Meghan crossed the line by making statements that openly criticize the royal family? because what she says not only affects her personal reputation, it also shakes public faith in an institution that has become a symbol of British identity. Does Meghan fully grasp the consequences of her words and actions, or has she become caught in a storm of public discourse that she can no longer control? These controversies not only place Meghan in an increasingly difficult position, they also pose a serious challenge for King Charles, who now stands between two opposing imperatives: preserving familial bonds and protecting the long-standing honor of the British monarchy. 2. King Charles and his response to the wave of scandals. In his role as the head of the British royal family, King Charles could no longer turn a blind eye to the continuous string of scandals tied to the name Meghan Markle. As the heir who now sits on the throne, he bears not only the duty of maintaining harmony within the family, but also the immense responsibility of safeguarding the honor of an institution that has endured for centuries. When the controversies surrounding Meghan began to significantly damage the image of the monarchy, the public was compelled to ask, can King Charles afford to remain silent, or must he take decisive action to protect the dignity of the royal household? Since Meghan and Harry stepped down from their royal duties and began publicly criticizing the family, most notably through their high-profile interview with Oprah Winfrey, King Charles has found himself with little choice but to respond. He made a firm decision to address the accusations raised by Meghan, a move that quickly ignited a firestorm of debate across all forms of media. The king's response clearly demonstrated a firm hand in crisis management. His actions were not only seen as a way to preserve the royal family's reputation, but also as a bold assertion of his authority as sovereign. Refusing to allow a family member to make public statements that could damage the integrity of the entire institution marked a red line he felt compelled to draw. But was this hardline approach truly the right path, or merely an assertion of control at a time when the family was facing deep internal fractures? While most other members of the royal family maintained a stance of silence, King Charles did not hesitate in addressing the situation with Meghan. But his firmness extended beyond simply cutting communication or demanding a public apology. According to some insider sources, he initiated a recalibration of the privileges previously granted to Meghan and Harry, along with tighter scrutiny over their financial dealings with major corporations, moves that only served to heighten tensions between the two sides. So is King Charles being too harsh? Many believe that given the string of controversies Meghan has caused, his resolute response is necessary to uphold the royal family's dignity. However, others argue that he could have chosen a more diplomatic route instead of immediately resorting to punitive measures. The critical question remains, are strong, uncompromising actions the only way to keep the monarchy intact, or might a more conciliatory approach, one involving dialogue, reconciliation, and a mutual path forward, have been possible, as King Charles holds absolute authority in such matters? Yet the real issue is whether these tough measures will yield lasting results. Some viewpoints suggest that while his decisiveness may protect the royal family's image in the short term, it could push the relationship with Meghan into irreparable territory. One notable detail is that the king remained silent for a long time before making his move, leading many to believe he had carefully weighed the consequences of the actions he was about to take. The dilemma lies in this: how can one preserve the face of the monarchy without inflicting deep, lasting wounds on its own members? This difficult position becomes even more apparent when considered against the complex backdrop the royal family has faced in recent years. The private lives of its members have never been easy, constantly under scrutiny and immense public pressure. Even as the leader, King Charles is not immune to that relentless spotlight. However, his choice to respond assertively to Meghan's serious controversies stands as a powerful statement about how he intends to reinforce his leadership and defend the royal family's dignity in the eyes of the public. And inevitably, the final question must be asked: will the firm measures imposed by King Charles truly restore credibility and reinforce the monarchy's traditional reverence, or will they conversely deepen already existing familial divides and cause more emotional damage than they prevent? 3. Meghan Markle and her defiant attitude after being sanctioned. After King Charles issued a firm and uncompromising decision aimed at Meghan Markle, what captured widespread public attention was her open and fiercely confrontational response. Instead of expressing any remorse or reconsidering her actions, Meghan continued to display an air of arrogance and defiance in the face of the royal family's stance. While many believed this was the moment for Meghan to reflect and adjust her approach to issues concerning the royal household, she instead chose to directly confront the situation with unwavering resolve. Meghan did not hesitate to publicly criticize the king's actions, labeling them a serious violation of her personal freedom. Rather than acknowledging any wrongdoing, she placed the blame squarely on the royal family for forcing her and Harry to withdraw from their official duties. Her reaction left many within the royal family disappointed. How could someone continue attacking the very institution that had once given her a position so many could only dream of? That question is now echoing across the public sphere, especially as Meghan persists in targeting those who once welcomed her, seemingly unaware of the rare privilege she had been granted. From her earliest days in the royal family, Meghan's strong personality had already sparked much debate. While she was once praised for her intellect and independence, her recent behavior reveals a clear disregard for the royal family's core values, discretion, loyalty to family, and steadfast adherence to principle in all circumstances. When someone repeatedly avoids responsibility and shows no willingness to admit fault, can they still deserve the respect of others? This question does not only apply to Meghan as an individual, but reflects a broader issue in modern society, when celebrities freely criticize and rebel, yet refuse to face the consequences of their own actions. Through a series of pointed remarks and a defiant attitude, Meghan has only intensified tensions. Though she claims to be fighting for freedom and justice, her behavior paints a portrait of someone lacking goodwill, sincerity, and respect for those who once stood by her side. Many believe that instead of seeking peaceful solutions, Meghan is capitalizing on public attention to further her personal brand, ignoring opportunities for reconciliation and responsible conduct toward her family. Meghan's response has also left the public bewildered. Many wonder why she cannot acknowledge her own missteps, especially when her actions have caused significant damage to the royal family's image. Is she truly aware that what she has done is wrong? If she genuinely wants reconciliation, why is there no indication that she's trying to make amends or apologize? On the contrary, her responses have only widened the rift between her and the royal family, revealing a deep incompatibility with the values considered the soul of the monarchy. There is no denying that over time, Meghan is increasingly becoming a polarizing figure in the eyes of the public. Her decisions have not only strained her relationship with the royal family, but also negatively impacted the personal image she once worked hard to build. Her interviews, public statements, and repeated disclosures of internal royal matters have not only demonstrated a lack of respect, but also a disregard for the consequences of her actions. Do these behaviors stem from a calculated strategy to provoke, or are they simply impulsive and ill-considered? Is Meghan closing the door on a chance to rebuild her relationship with the royal family, or is she continuing down a path of conflict without considering the long-term fallout? Such provocative words and actions have not only inflicted emotional harm on members of the royal family, but have also cost Meghan much of the goodwill she once held in the hearts of the British public. Her arrogance and lack of empathy have deepened the divide between her and the very family that once welcomed her. While Meghan remains firm in defending her personal beliefs, continuing down this path of defiance may cost her far more than she realizes, not just her connection to the royal family, but also the trust of those who once believed in her. 4. Meghan's dishonest actions and defiant attitude. Since officially joining the British royal family, Meghan Markle has continuously stirred up controversy. Her disregard for royal protocol and disrespect toward long-standing royal traditions have become increasingly evident through her contradictory behavior and statements. Not only has she been involved in a series of widely publicized scandals, but Meghan has also faced harsh criticism for her perceived dishonesty and brazen attitude toward both the royal family and the public. These actions go beyond mere disrespect. They amount to a direct challenge to the values the monarchy has upheld for centuries. One of the most apparent patterns in Meghan's conduct is the lack of transparency and the frequent contradictions in her public statements. In multiple interviews and media appearances, Meghan has shared accounts or made accusations without providing any concrete evidence to substantiate them. Worse still, she has repeatedly contradicted her own previous remarks, prompting not only the public, but even members of the royal family to question her credibility. Does Meghan truly understand that her baseless claims are not only hurtful to others, but also undermine the trust of those who once supported her? Equally concerning is Meghan's continual criticism of the values and principles the royal family has maintained over generations. Although she has often stated that she has no intention of harming her husband's family, her actions and words suggest otherwise. From comments about racism to her apparent dismissal of royal tradition, Meghan's statements have left many asking, is this ignorance, carelessness, or a calculated act of provocation beyond attacking values? Meghan has also openly disclosed private details about royal family members, matters that should have remained confidential. Her choice to publicize intimate conversations violated the unspoken code of discretion and revealed a profound lack of respect for the privacy of others. When a person refuses to acknowledge fault, do they still deserve respect? If Meghan genuinely wished to preserve a peaceful relationship with the royal family, surely she could have chosen a wiser path instead of continuing to expose sensitive issues so openly. Moreover, one of the key reasons Meghan has faced such intense backlash is that she seems unaware of the consequences of her statements and behavior. Rather than using interviews to foster understanding or reconciliation, she appears to exploit them for attention, either unintentionally or deliberately ignoring the emotional damage her words may cause to her own relatives. Despite the wide reach of her every word, instead of using that platform to resolve conflicts positively, Meghan has turned it into a tool for maintaining personal visibility while pushing her relationship with the royal family into prolonged estrangement. Is Meghan aware that such behavior not only backfires on her personally, but also distorts the public perception of the very family that once welcomed her with open arms? Meghan's lack of self-restraint and defiance are further reflected in her unwillingness to face her mistakes and take steps to make amends. Instead, she appears to avoid the truth, make excuses, or shift blame whenever she faces criticism. This not only tarnishes her public image, but also makes her relationship with the royal family more strained than ever. Meghan has not only broken the norms of the institution, she is actively dismantling the positive image she once enjoyed in the eyes of the British public and the world at large. When all of Meghan's actions are viewed through an objective lens, many are compelled to ask, does Meghan truly realize the extent to which her behavior has gone astray, or is she spiraling deeper into a pattern of arrogance and lack of humility? If she sincerely wants to reconcile and repair her relationship with the royal family, can she still turn back and act differently? Or will she continue down a path of controversy and conflict, where the damage becomes harder and harder to undo? 5. Is King Charles's hardline approach truly necessary? When King Charles imposed strict measures on Meghan Markle, a wave of public debate erupted with conflicting opinions surrounding the necessity and severity of his decisions. The choices he made not only affected the cohesion within the royal family, but also deepened divisions in the eyes of the public. Were these actions a required step to protect the dignity and credibility of the monarchy, or merely a demonstration of King Charles asserting his authority in a family already riddled with tension? As the head of an institution that has endured for centuries, King Charles could no longer remain silent in the face of ongoing scandals and Meghan's increasingly aggressive responses. The decision by Meghan and Harry to step back from royal duties had already caused a significant rift within the family, and their subsequent public criticisms only exacerbated the crisis. The accusations leveled against the royal family, ranging from racism to a lack of transparency in internal operations, pushed the institution into a defensive posture. To defend the monarchy's reputation and structural integrity, King Charles was compelled to act. One of the most significant moves he made was to cut back the privileges previously granted to Meghan and Harry, particularly concerning their participation in official royal events. Simultaneously, King Charles demanded tighter control over Meghan's public statements, signaling clearly that behavior which crosses certain boundaries would no longer be tolerated within the royal household. While this approach was seen as a way to preserve the monarchy's image, it also raised a crucial question. Was such a hardline approach absolutely necessary, or might there have been a less damaging path toward resolution? It is undeniable that revoking Meghan's royal privileges and ties could leave lasting wounds not only for her personally, but for the royal family as a whole. While Meghan's actions may have had negative repercussions for the monarchy's image, were the king's firm responses truly the only option? Could there have been an alternative one that prioritized direct dialogue, building bridges instead of barriers to diffuse a conflict that continues to escalate? There is no easy answer to that question. In an institution like the British monarchy, where values and traditions have been preserved for generations, protecting dignity is paramount. At the same time, another question emerges: is King Charles reacting too harshly? Some argue that instead of resorting to immediate punitive measures, he could have explored the possibility of constructive conversation, an opportunity for mutual understanding and reconciliation. However, in the context of an intensifying conflict, any softer approach might easily be misinterpreted as weakness or indecision. What's worth reflecting on is this: when the royal family is confronted with an internal crisis of this magnitude, the line between upholding tradition and maintaining familial bonds becomes more blurred than ever. While King Charles's stern actions may be deemed necessary to safeguard the monarchy's prestige and principles, they also risk causing long-term emotional damage. Cutting ties with Meghan could leave a significant void in the family, and once the media storm eventually subsides, will the king come to regret not choosing a gentler course of action? How can a family like the royal family preserve its honor without inflicting lasting harm on its own members? This is not a question for King Charles alone. It is one that must be considered by everyone within the institution. Defending one's reputation is essential, but how can that be achieved without further division? When a family is surrounded by turmoil, finding harmony becomes one of the most difficult challenges of all. And in the end, the biggest question still lacks a clear answer. Is rigidity and resoluteness truly the only way to protect the royal family amid media storms and internal conflicts? Or is there still another path, the way of understanding and reconciliation, that King Charles could choose in order to preserve what is most precious in a family teetering on the brink of collapse? 6. What future awaits Meghan and the British royal family? Looking ahead, the future of Meghan Markle and the British royal family remains an open-ended question with no clear resolution in sight. After a series of conflicts, controversies, and highly publicized scandals in which Meghan played a central role, one cannot help but wonder, does she still have a path back to the royal family? Since stepping down from royal duties, Meghan and Harry have delivered a profound shock, not just to the public, but also to the royal family itself. What initially seemed like a private rift quickly escalated into a significant fracture in the public image of the monarchy. Amid growing criticism from public opinion and the widening distance between Meghan and members of the royal family, one must ask, is there still a chance for Meghan to return to engage in dialogue and to reclaim a place within the institution she once chose to leave behind? Forecasting Meghan's future has never been easy. After everything that has transpired, the question now is, can Meghan gradually rebuild and reconnect with the royal family? Or has she closed the door on that opportunity herself? Her continued public criticism of her in-laws and her willingness to disclose sensitive information about royal life may be eroding her final chance at reconciliation. Statements about racism and financial disputes have not only impacted Meghan's personal image, but also left deep scars on her relationship with members of the royal household. These actions have made Meghan one of the most polarizing figures in discussions about the modern monarchy, and any hope of reconciliation between her and the royal family appears increasingly slim, at least in the near future. The distance she has created extends beyond King Charles, affecting relationships with the Queen, the Duke, and Duchess of Cambridge, and other senior royals. This growing divide makes the question of her return to royal life all the more complex. Does Meghan understand that her words and actions may be sealing shut the very doors she may one day wish to reopen? Perhaps only a conversation grounded in sincerity, an acknowledgement of past missteps, and a genuine desire to rebuild could offer a pathway to healing. However, the long-term impact of these events cannot be ignored on both Meghan and the royal family. The wounds left behind have deepened, making internal reconciliation more difficult to achieve in the short term. Meghan's public image has also suffered considerable damage. Her repeated controversial remarks and actions have caused many to lose trust. Meanwhile, the royal family, which has long chosen silence as its default response, may find it increasingly difficult to maintain that stance amid relentless criticism from someone who was once one of their own. Currently, Meghan appears to be pursuing an independent path alongside Harry, a journey marked by personal projects, media ventures, community initiatives, and humanitarian campaigns. She is actively constructing a new public identity outside of the monarchy, seeking influence through alternative platforms. But the question remains, will this choice ultimately damage her reputation in the long run? Once someone steps into the public spotlight, scrutiny becomes inevitable. And if she continues to speak and act in ways that stir controversy, can she truly preserve her career and credibility? Or will she only deepen the rift between herself and the public's trust? The future between Meghan and the royal family is no longer just a personal matter, it has become a systemic issue. It is a complex problem of disconnection, fragmentation, and the challenge of rebuilding an image after a crisis. Whether Meghan continues down her independent path or seeks reconciliation, the royal family cannot return to the way things were before. The consequences of these events will continue to unfold, affecting Meghan's personal life and shaping the public's perception of the monarchy. While the possibility of reconciliation remains, it will require Meghan to confront her past actions and actively work toward making amends, knowing full well that the road ahead will not be easy. As for Harry, his bond with his original family has become more complicated than ever. Although he has always expressed affection and loyalty to the monarchy, Meghan's public stance and confrontational posture may force him into an uncomfortable dilemma to continue standing firmly by his wife or to find a new balance with his family of origin. Can Harry maintain his connection to the royal family while Meghan pursues her outspoken criticisms and personal agenda? Or in the end, will he have to decide that despite everything that has happened, blood ties are what matter most? With so many unanswered questions, the future of Meghan and the British royal family remains a subject of intense public interest. This crisis has reshaped personal relationships and left a lasting imprint on the monarchy's global image. Perhaps one day, when the storm has passed, the world may witness a moment of reconciliation, or conversely, this may forever remain an unhealed fracture in royal history. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch today's video. If you found the content helpful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos. What are your thoughts on Meghan Markle's actions and King Charles's decision? Where do you think their future within the royal family is headed? Feel free to share your opinions and perspectives in the comments section below. Let's exchange views and keep the discussion going. See you in the next video.